Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wire2Wire Sports Podcast, episode 175. I am your handsome host, the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. And in my upper left corner, I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Kittrell.
What's going on, gentlemen? How are you guys feeling this Wednesday non-football season?
I don't know what you're talking about, bro. I'm ready to call some people out. I'm feeling like a 49er. I'm ready to call some people out tonight. In the upper right corner, I got Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally, and Mr. William Shallcross.
I'm feeling wonderful. 3 words for you, gentlemen. Pitchers and catchers.
I'm excited about that, too.
Catchers.
I'm excited about that, too. That's fun.
The pop of the gloves, the crack of the bat. It's time, gentlemen. It's time.
That means the lists are coming soon.
I'm ready for a list. They coming next week? Is that next week?
We'll have to do some backwards math, but we're probably close.
Math.
Some backwards math.
2 + 2 = 4. 4 - 2 = 2. We can figure it out.
We figure it out.
But I'm EA Sports. I'm in the game. I'm ready to rock and roll. The Super Bowl just happened. We can't skip over that. Got to talk about what just happened in that football game. Kyle Shanahan becomes the first coach in NFL history to have 3 10-point lead losses in the Super Bowl.
Yikes.
Bum, bum, bum. And by the way, I kind of want to start with this because it's the breaking news part of it. How about the fact that Steve Wilks is now fired from defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers? Do we want to start with the game or do we want to talk about that first?
I got strong feelings on that one. So
same.
But I'm down for whatever.
Game, though. I think we start with the game.
All right, let's cover the game first. 49ers came out rolling offensively, defensively. They looked great. They looked like a juggernaut. They looked unbeatable. They looked exactly how I thought they would look. I picked them. I was right until I was wrong. And then I was wrong. But they came out looking great. And then Dre Greenlaw happened. And I think that's the turning point in the game. That's just my personal opinion. Dre Greenlaw popping his Achilles, coming off the sideline. Travis Kelce had 1 catch for 1 yard before Greenlaw was injured. He had 8 catches for 93 yards from when Greenlaw was left the football game. That's a huge turning point. And we'll talk about a lot of stuff that happened in this football game. We'll talk about the 49ers deferring the ball in overtime. We're going to talk about how, I don't know, half of them didn't know the overtime rules. I love how they're playing damage control on that today. Like, oh no, we knew. Bro, Kyle, you're mic'd up. Juszczyk is mic'd up saying, oh damn, if we score, they get the ball? Well, I didn't know that. So right now. Wait, what? They didn't know the rules. How damning is that? How much of poor coaching is that? Who do you place the blame on? Or is just Kansas City better? We're going to talk about where you have Patrick Mahomes on your all-time list now. I know where I have him on mine. So we'll get into all of that tonight. I'm ready to rock and roll. And then we're going to talk about UFC, NBA, maybe college basketball, maybe not. I don't know if we're going to get to it. We got a lot to get into. Let's get rolling. Kittrell, I'll start with you. Where did it go wrong for the 49ers? By the way, they lived up to their names. They proved everybody right that called them mentally soft in the offseason last year. Dude, all they're doing, Brandon Ayuk's brother is on Twitter saying, oh, we're staying in Vegas. We're not coming back. You got offensive linemen calling out other offensive linemen out on Twitter, replying to fans. What? Are we serious right now? CMC? Was he the problem? He fumbled away the game? Maybe. That's what William Joseph says. I don't know. We got to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Kittrell, what went wrong for San Fran?
For me, I think what went wrong was halftime. Halftime happened and Kansas City made adjustments, and it felt like the 49ers were consistent with their game plan. And, there's nothing – I don't fault them essentially for that because, what they had going was working. But at a point, they got away from the run in a very weird time. There was 2 back-to-back possessions where they had 6 straight plays of just passes. And I know CMC ran the ball a lot in that game. Like, he didn't have crazy success in that game. And I'm not saying that he should have touched the ball 30 times, had 30 carries on the ground, but it just felt like they got away from the run in weird spots. And then as far as the Dre Greenlaw injury, I do think that played a major factor in the momentum shifting from the 49ers side going over to the Chiefs side. But I really think that the bigger part of that is that Kansas City made their adjustments at halftime. You did see a lot of, Dre Greenlaw covering Kelsey or passing him off, through traffic and things like that. But I do think Kansas City did a great job in that second half of starting to move Travis Kelsey around a little bit more, hide him in a bunch formation, split him off wide where he didn't have one-on-one, coverage and things like that. They were able to really see when the 49ers were in zone, and they were also able to get them out of man and free up Travis Kelsey a lot by hiding him in those bunch formations. Even the play that set up the game time field goal to send it to overtime, you saw, Travis got off the line of scrimmage, pretty easily. He got off the press pretty easily against Fred Warner, but there was just a little bit of traffic that got Fred off of his tracks and freed up Travis to go get, a 20-plus yard gain there. So I think the 49ers definitely need to look in the mirror this offseason. I think that is a team right now that just lacks accountability. It feels like every single time something goes wrong, they're pointing the finger at each other. And the funny thing is that, we've been pretty honest about how we felt about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy was not the reason they lost that football game. He didn't go play great. He didn't play bad at all, though. And him not turning the ball over, him having 250 yards and a touchdown, CMC having, 150 plus yards from scrimmage. Like, you would think that that's a San Francisco win, but here we are looking at it again as Kyle Shanahan dropping the ball and them just fumbling away a game that you felt like they had full control of.
Shally, so by the way, Control completely agreed with me. He said that when Greenlaw got hurt, that was the turning point of the game. That's exactly what he said. That's all I heard. Shally, where did the game get away from San Francisco, or was just Kansas City just a better football team?
I mean, I don't think anybody could definitively say Kansas City's a better football team. They won the game. They made the plays when it mattered. I mean, Cottrell, both of you guys took like the first 5 bullet points I have here for this game. Listen, we talk about it all the time. NFL especially, football is a game of adjustments. Kansas City went into halftime and made adjustments on both sides of the ball. You can't look at the Greenlaw situation and say it didn't affect the game. Cottrell and Gene already both went over the stats. And we pointed that out as something to watch for last week when we previewed the game. Like, was Travis Kelsey going to be able to use the middle of the field against Greenlaw and Fred Warner? And before he got hurt, the answer was no. We thought he was probably going to have to work outside the numbers because he wasn't going to be able to get open over the middle. Once he got hurt and Oren Burke came in, 8 for 8 for almost 90 yards, it was a whole different ballgame. They went to him when they needed him, like they always do. It's a lot, man. It's a lot to break down. I agree with both you guys. I think if you looked at this game from afar and didn't know the score and just looked at the stats, you'd probably think San Fran won. But I think if you're a San Francisco fan, I think the stuff that happened after the game is a little troubling. At some point, I think you have to look at the leadership on that team and have it be the captains. I wouldn't start there. I would start with the coaching staff. I don't think Kyle Shanahan holds enough of those guys, accountable for a lot of things. I know there's a fine line of letting players be themselves and play with the confidence and, the attitude and the cockiness that some guys have, like a Deebo Samuel. But at some point, too, you have to make sure everybody's on the same page and rowing the same way in the same boat. And apparently that wasn't happening. I think you just have to, tip your cap to Kansas City to some point, too. Patrick Mahomes is just different. He's just on a different level. He's on a different level than everybody else that's playing football right now. I think the overtime decision was a sin. It is baffling to me. I I don't know how you could go down. I look at it this way. If you take the ball first to go down and it's 4th and 2, 4th and 3, whatever it was, you can't kick the field goal there. You can't kick the field goal there knowing he's getting the ball regardless of what happens. You have to go for it. At that point, it doesn't matter. That was just mind-boggling to me, even after the coin toss. Like I said, if you're going to go down there, with the way he went down the field, the two drives before the end of the game, I don't know how you had any confidence that you guys were going to stop him at home to a field goal. But the biggest adjustment I think he made was he decided to use his legs in the second half. When they started rushing, they did get pressure. They realized they were just a man and they were turning their back, and he would just take off and get chunk plays, keep drives alive. He did his thing. I saw a bunch of crazy stats today of in the playoffs, there's like 51, I think, game-winning drives. You're down by 7 in the fourth quarter, like in the history of the NFL. And he has 7 of them already. It's just crazy. The man's built for the spotlight, no matter what you think of him personally or how he acts on the football field. He's just different. He's different. He's got a great head coach that is great. Gene sang his praises the last couple of weeks, and it's true. Guy's great at making adjustments, and he is great at scheming people open. And when you do that, and you have the ball and the best quarterback on the planet's hand, good things are usually going to happen for you. So, I think it was a great game. I think if people trashing it, I think if you take your hate for probably both teams out, which a lot of people did, it was a great football game. It really was. It was a very, very well played football game. I think people are hating on it too much because they just don't like either team. But it was a well played football game. Overtime in the Super Bowl. I don't really know what else you could ask for.
By the way, for all the people that said the game was boring in the first half, I really need you to do yourself a favor and watch more football. That was a great football game. I got to see all the defense I wanted to see in the first half. I seen turnovers. I seen fumbles. In the second half, I got to see the offense I was craving to see. I got to see guys make pinpoint passes into tight windows all game. I got to see a chess match between two very good coaches. I mean, if you really break it down, there's probably about 4 or 5 very good coaches that were between these two games, but between these two teams. But I will say this. I don't think there was any bigger loss for San Francisco than when Greenlaw exited the game. I'm literally pinning it on that because
same day.
And look, I think let's head into overtime, but I really want to head into the Steve Wilks thing. But we're going to head into overtime.
Before we get there, I got something that just will send us right there. My thought process behind everything here. So if you're looking at the San Francisco 49ers team and, we're going to go to overtime and we're going to talk about the call that, whatever way of the fence, you're on here. I think it's the wrong call, but I will say I applaud Kyle Shanahan for standing on it and saying that, hey, our thought process was we're going to go down and score. If they score, we're going to get the ball back and then we're going to win the game. I don't agree with it, but I commend him for standing on it. But my thinking of that, though, if your defensive coordinator, who you just got rid of, essentially you're putting the ball in his hands. You're saying, hey, we want you to scheme up everything. We want you to stop Patrick Mahomes for this one drive. And clearly that didn't happen, but why not have more confidence in yourself to say, hey, even I understand, you want third possession, but even if the Chiefs go down and score a touchdown, they're not going for 2. You could 100% go for 2 if you don't want to put the ball back in Pat's hands to win the game. So that's really where I'm at with it. I know we're going to get into Steve Wilks, so I wanted to bring that up too. Hey, so you trust this guy to stop Patrick Mahomes with 4 downs every play if he needed it, but now you say
that's
he's not the guy for you anymore.
That's the point, because when you take the ball second, you give him 4 downs every time. So, let me give you the example, right? 4th and 1, 32-yard line. On their own 32. If that's the first drive of overtime,
it's a punt.
It could be a punt.
Probably.
It could be a punt. But because they're already down 3, now, granted, Patrick Mahomes is going to get that first down 99 times out of 100. But by the way, I don't know how Steve Wilks can't know that ball's going to Mahomes or Kelsey with the Super Bowl on the line. They dove down for the Pacheco inside zone. I don't know how you did that. I don't know. Even the broadcaster's dude, you have to know on 4th down, it's Mahomes is touching the ball and he's either throwing it to Kelsey or he's running it. They dove down on the inside zone. I hate that.
Schematically, though, in read options, I don't know how Steve Wilks' system plays it every time, but usually your defensive end is responsible for the quarterback. So I understand Bosa dove down there, and I'm not saying he was wrong in that situation, but like normally you have
He was wrong.
things that you're supposed to be doing, like either the linebacker is supposed to account for the quarterback or, your lineman accounts for the quarterback. So
it's a triple option play. So you either hand the ball to Pacheco, you run the ball,
but I'm saying
or you throw
Nick
it to
Bosa, him diving down may not have been a call straight from Steve Wilks, is what I'm saying.
No, you're right. I don't, but regardless, how do you not know that? Whether you're Steve Wilks, whether you're Nick Bosa, whether you're whoever, you can't. The whole world knew that he was not handing that ball to Pacheco on 4th and 1, Super Bowl line. The whole world knew that. No? Did you not know that, Shally? Did you think that they were going to hand the ball to Pacheco?
I didn't think they were going to hand it off, but again, you're talking about the option, and you're talking about what Bosa does. But Mahomes' read is what Bosa does. I mean, it's if he crashes like he did, then it's easy because then he just walks around the end and he gets the first down. I mean, I don't think. Well, I agree with you. I don't think Mahomes is ever going to let that ball go and go to Pacheco. But it's still the look is what matters there. And Bosa went for the dive, and then just it's easy picking for Mahomes. But it's that's why you call that play, because you want that look.
I get it. The overtime thing is wild to me. You cannot give Patrick Mahomes last crack at the football. If you give them first crack at the football, they score a touchdown, you're 4 downs, and you're going for 2. For them to say we wanted the ball third, Kansas City knew there was never touching the ball a third time. It was if they go down, score a touchdown, and we score a touchdown, we're going for 2. We're not handing them the ball with the opportunity to kick a field goal to win the game. We're going for 2. We're taking our 60% play, and we're taking it, and we're going for it. That's what we're doing. So you cannot give Mahomes the ball second. And like even the analysts were like on TV, they were like, was it Romo? Romo's like, he's like, I don't know why. Maybe the defense was tired. Maybe they were gassed after the last drive. That was the excuse. You have the whole offseason to be gassed. I don't even care. You give up a touchdown. You gave a touchdown anyway. You have to have the ball last. Winners want the ball when the game's on the line.
Or if you're going to make that decision, I would say that 4th and 4, I'm probably going for it.
100%. And they got tricked 3 times. There's 3 pivotal plays in which Spagnuolo caught them with their pants down with a rusher, and Trent McDuffie was on 2 of them. Like untouched. 3rd and 5 to win the game. They get that 3rd and 5 in the 4th quarter, game's over. It's over. Trent McDuffie comes untouched. Untouched. Through the B gap. Can't happen. Can't happen. So I want to get in Steve Wilks. I'm sorry. I want to get in Steve Wilks. I got to get to Steve Wilks. Guys, I am always, first of all, guys, we all agree on one thing. Should have been fired, right? Can we all agree there? He should not have been fired.
Correct.
We're all agree there. I'm going to lean on the side of, I kind of understand it, though. And I'll argue it to the death because that defense got worse this year, right? Is that fair? Can we pretend that defense didn't get worse with D'Amico Ryans to Steve Wilks? It got worse. It's very obvious it got worse. Now, granted, they lost to Fonga. That's a huge loss during the season. But they added Chase Young, and they added, Javon Hargrave. Defense got worse this year. Ranked worst, play worse in the playoffs. No one's arguing that, right? Can we all agree there? They were terrible
the year before.
They were terrible. They were dominant the year before.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They weren't as dominant.
They were terrible in the playoffs. They let their pants down to Jordan Love. Jordan Love ran wild on them. Almost lost that football game. They got behind 17 points to Detroit. They were terrible. Questions about people giving 100% effort, benching Chase Young, who they traded for. They were terrible, right? We're fair there. We get to the Super Bowl. They played incredible defense in the first half before Dre Greenlaw got hurt. But when you got in that position where Greenlaw got hurt and you need to adjust, because teams need to adjust. Now, losing Greenlaw sucks, right? It does. It's very tough to adjust from. But, there came a point in that football game where Kyle Shanahan called a timeout because he hated the defensive look. They were running cover 0, and they were playing 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, giving Mahomes the quick pass. And they did it play after play after play. One of the worst defensive play calls I ever seen. They ran cover 0 with Travis Kelce on the inside, 1-on-1 with Fred Warner. You cannot run that. That's not okay. That's not – Fred Warner's a lot of things. Like, dude, on his tombstone, it's going to go great linebacker, awesome ball skills. He attacks the football. He's great against the run. He's great in the flats. You know what it's not going to say? Great cover guy. It's never been a great cover guy. It's not who he is. You can't have him covering priority 1. If Mahomes is blitzed and it's cover 0, priority 1 is Travis Kelce. That's priority 1. And you have Fred Warner on him on an island. All Kelce did was run away from him. Got 30 yards on the play. That can't happen. That cannot happen. Steve Wilks coached terribly in the postseason. Now, here's the argument, right? I'm going to make the argument for firing him. I don't want him fired. I just want to make that clear. I don't think he deserved to be fired. The argument for him being fired is there any team that has more defensive talent than San Francisco? Chase Young, Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave. I didn't even mention, like, they're Fred Warner, Greenlaw, like, they're all there. I'm missing the nose tackle. Please, I don't know how I'm forgetting his name.
Eric Armstead.
They're all there. Travarius Ward, they're all there. I don't know how that defense can look that confused and puzzled in that second half with losing their outside linebacker. Granted, very good outside linebacker. You can't tell, we lost one guy, so we just quit. We look terrible now? No, I can't live with that. That defense looked bad in the second half. Bad, not good, bad.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think my issue is that we are talking about a defense that only gave in regulation, they only gave up a touchdown after their special teams muffed a punt. Like, that touchdown came off of that. So regardless of how bad they looked, at the end of the day, they were bending and not breaking. They were getting 3 points from that Chiefs offense, and that's Patrick Mahomes on the other side. So if I'm holding him to 3 and he's got 19 points in regulation, and we really only gave up 12 points in reality all game. Yeah, they got a touchdown from 11 yards away. Those things happen. I mean, I can't blame the San Francisco defense necessarily for that touchdown in that spot. Of course, they could have played it better. But, I mean, if you give Patrick that many opportunities, he's going to score a touchdown eventually. So that's really where I'm at with it. And then my other problem is that we talk about the San Francisco, how great they were last year. And I understand Brock Purdy got hurt last year, but the Eagles had their way with them last year. And that's when, DeMeco Ryans was still there. And we know how great of a coach that he is and how great of a job he did down there in Houston. And I'm not just saying you got to protect Steve Wilks at all cost here. My issue with this San Francisco team is that we talked about it last week on the show. There was going to come a point with this team that someone was not going to take accountability. And that's been my biggest issue with this 49ers team. You point the finger at Steve Wilks and say, hey, he's the reason why we didn't win this Super Bowl. You ran Jimmy Garoppolo out of town. You said we got to get a better quarterback if we're going to take our steps over the big one. Brock Purdy has been miles better than what Jimmy ever was. He's got a bright future and all of that. But for them to go out there and scapegoat Steve Wilks after, and I get it, the playoffs so far, they gave up a lot of points. So I understand that. So I'm hearing that argument. But when you get to the playoffs, you're facing teams that have good offenses. That's just the reality of the situation. Dan Quinn had a phenomenal year all year as Dallas's DC, and Jordan Love went out there and gave him 50. Ben Johnson is one of the best offensive minds in the game, and Detroit went out there and they scored a ton of offense and they scored a ton of points in that first half. In the second half, Steve Wilks made his adjustments and they looked a lot better. So my biggest issue is that this 49ers team just refuses to hold anyone else accountable. We talked about their offensive linemen. We talked about, everybody else and who's pointing the finger at who. We haven't even mentioned, let's talk about how Deebo Samuel is one of your best offensive weapons, and he ended the game with 3 catches. Or let's talk about how George Kittle has been one of the best tight ends all season, and he's only got 2 catches in the entire game. Like, let's talk about how Kyle Shanahan didn't scheme those guys open to get the ball in their best playmakers' hands. Like, let's talk about that. But instead, we're here talking about because Steve Wilks and that San Francisco 49ers defense, they gave up 25 points to the greatest quarterback in the game in 5 quarters. he's got the boot, and they're going to figure out the next guy for next year to be their DC, and we're going to be in the same exact position all over again next year because they're going to find a new scapegoat after Kyle Shanahan and company don't get it done.
Oh, you're before Shy goes, you're 100% correct. I don't want that to be lost in translation, that Kyle Shanahan and San Francisco 49ers don't hold accountability and they're scapegoating Steve Wilks. I'm just saying he didn't do a good job. And I think that for me, the guy that's always on the one side of the fence, I'm telling you, I'm not saying he should have got – remember the whole OJ joke? I'm not saying he should have killed her, but I understand the Chris Rock joke. I'm not saying he should have got fired, but I understand. Shally.
I mean, I agree with Cottrell on this one. I mean, this was them picking the lowest hanging fruit. This was everybody saw that everything everybody remembers from the game is Kansas City marching down the field to win the game, score a touchdown, and it was defense's fault. It was this, and this. You can say they look bad or they played bad all they want, but I mean, at some point, you have to look at the game. I mean, if you have Patrick Mahomes in your territory 5 times and he kicks 4 field goals, I'm not sure what else you want them to do. You're not going to shut out Patrick Mahomes. You're not going to do that.
Well, at 463 yards total.
It's fine. But it's broken up over 5 quarters, and you're giving up a lot of yardage between the 20s. If you can hold still, if you can hold your water after they get inside the 20 of the red zone, you're giving up field goals against Patrick Mahomes. That's a win. Sorry, it is. If you tell me Patrick Mahomes goes on the field 4 times and he goes in the red zone 4 times and they come out with 12 points, you don't think that's a win? That's an absolute win. That defense played well enough to win the football game. Steve Wilks coached. Cool. You don't think they did a great job? That's fine. I'll put it to you this way: he didn't do a bad enough job for him to get scapegoated and fired today. They weren't terrible. They weren't terrible. If, like Cottrell said, if he would have went out and they gave up 50 and they get run out of the building and embarrassed, cool. You fire Steve Wilks today. I'm cool with that. If like Cottrell said, you have the whole Dan Quinn performance and you go on TV and give up 50, fine. I'm fine with that. It's not what happened.
I know I'm on the unpopular side of this. I get it. I understand that. I'm not saying he should have been scapegoated or fired today. What I am saying is, and by the way, I need to address this real quick before I finish. Kyle Edwards said, how about abandoning the run at the start second half? And then Bose said, it's crazy how every team did the same thing against him, just weird. It's not weird, okay, guys? I know that sometimes you see that they're not running the football, so you're believing what your eyes are seeing. The 49ers did not run the ball with any success in that game. They ran the ball for 3.5 yards per carry. That's number one. Number two, I want to take this a step further. Kansas City produces a front that any quarterback that's checking at the line would check out of. They put everybody on the line of scrimmage to induce you to pass the football. They're trying to get you to pass the football. They want to stop the run. That's their goal. That's why Baltimore didn't do it. That's why Buffalo stopped doing it. Buffalo had a lot of success in the first half. Spagnuolo completely switched his style of defense up. When you have 8 guys in the box, you're supposed to throw the football. You know what the argument is about them running the football? Now, granted, I think they should have ran the football more in the second half when they went to 2 straight possessions where they went pass, 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 pass. I agree with that, right? There should have been more, but it's not weird why it happens. Here's the equivalent, though. I'm going to give you guys an equivalent that makes a lot of sense, right? Do you remember in the beginning of LeBron James's career, everyone's like, why is he not taking the final shot? He needs to be taking the final shot. And LeBron would always be like, I'm making the right basketball play. I'm passing it to the corner to the wide open guy, and he's going to make the shot. That's what they're doing, right? The offenses are making the right play versus an 8-man box. You're supposed to throw the football. You're supposed to throw the football.
I agree. I agree for sure. I think my counterpoint to that, though, would be San Francisco was essentially doing something very like the Chiefs weren't having a lot of success in the rushing game either.
Nope.
But they still were giving the ball to Isaiah Pacheco just to say, hey, we're going to keep you on your toes. Like even in OT, like we knew that
not really. 18 carries versus 22. The Chiefs ran the ball 30 times. The 49ers ran 31.
I get that. I get what you're saying there. And I'm saying in spots though. Like we knew Isaiah Pacheco hadn't had a great game at all. I'm saying it's third and 1 in overtime. Patrick Mahomes has been killing it the entire second half, and they still say, "Hey, we're going to hand the ball off to Isaiah Pacheco here because we want you guys to respect it." I'm just saying I don't think that the two drives back to back where it was 6 straight passes and the two punts. I just think you have to give CMC the ball in those situations. And I even brought it up earlier. I'm not even getting on Shanahan for not giving CMC the ball. I mean, they gave him 22 times and he had 8 catches. So it's 30 touches total. So I can't be bad.
Yeah. 31 carries for San Francisco. Now, granted, Brock Purdy had 3 of them. So let's say 28. Debo had 3. Mitchell had 2. McCaffrey had 22. So, like, they ran the football. It wasn't like they did what the Ravens did and ran it 6 times to the running backs. Shall we?
No, I mean, I agree with both of you. I think it was just there was a couple times where it was, 3rd and 1 and they got cute and then they punted. 3rd and 2 where you're in 4-down territory and you got cute. Whereas you can run the ball twice, make them stop you twice, or at least try with McCaffrey and then maybe run play action off it, or have, everybody has those hot sheets where they have 6 or 7 plays, where, you feel like you can get a yard when you absolutely have to have it. That's the type of stuff that I think frustrated a lot of 49er fans, where I don't care how you slice it. Your best player on your team is your running back, and 3rd and 1 in the Super Bowl, you're getting cute and trying to run, a tight end, a tight end release and stuff like that. It's a lot. That's Shanahan just outthinking himself, and again, I heard the guys talk about it, this morning. You can see as that game wore on his face that he was battling things in his head.
Right.
Second guessing certain things, and I did this, in the Atlanta game, but should I do this again, or do I play it safe and do this? You could just see it. You can see it in certain playing call. That guy absolutely has demons in his head now when it comes to Super Bowls, and it's not going to get any better now.
Shout out to Matt Godfrey. He said Jim Johnson watched that scheme and was smiling down from the heavens. Steve Spagnuolo, obviously comes from the Jim Johnson tree. And it's very evident that he learned a lot from Jim Johnson. Spags coached a hell of a game. It was a great chess match. It was a good football game. And when I look at that football game, I think a lot of things went against San Francisco, right? The Greenlaw injury, I felt like they were very unlucky. I mean that when I say that. The Chiefs fumbled the ball 5 times, recovered 4 of them. That's insane.
It'll never happen again.
So, I think that they were unlucky in the football game also. But in some cases, you create your own luck. And Bill, I 100% agree with you. Kyle Shanahan was seeing ghosts. He was scared. He coached that game weird. I don't like a lot of the calls he made down the stretch. And for today, us to be talking about Steve Wilkes being fired, but Kyle Shanahan still has his job. Not saying either one of them should have been fired is kind of a weird feeling.
I almost wonder too, with him getting 6 straight passes in that second half, was that him saying, "Hey, I'm being aggressive. I'm trying to still go attack and go get it," as opposed to, "Hey, we're just going to hand it off to CMC, see whatever yards he can get, and just go from there." I almost wonder, was he trying to overcompensate for his past failures?
I literally brought that up last week when we previewed the game. I said I think at some point in the game he will overcompensate and be too aggressive for what he did in the Atlanta game and taking his foot off the gas and playing it safe. And you saw it. There was crucial times in that game. He was like, again, 3rd and 1, give the ball to C-Mac. Your line's been winning most of the night. The guy will get you 3 feet. And we did something cute and didn't get it. Now we're punting.
I looked at that situation where they had, and I mean this, right? When they had 3rd and 5, and they threw that ball when McDuffie blitzed on the edge, I would have ran that football to Christian McCaffrey, got 3 yards, and put myself in a 4th and 2, keeping the clock moving. That incomplete pass really killed them. And then if you go down to the goal line, they have the 3rd and 4 on the goal line. Bill, the one thing that really kind of stood out to me was if you're at 3rd and 4 from the 12-yard line, you can run the ball twice to Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And probably get that first down.
I agree.
I probably would.
There was the only times they really had any success against CMAC was when it was in like super duper obvious running situations, and they would still stop him for like no gain. They weren't tackling him for 4-yard losses.
Yeah,
like I said, your offensive line was winning most of the night. I agree with you. You go starting at 4, you run it and see where you're at. But if you're in 4-down territory, you're already in field goal range. Like, what do you have to lose at that point?
But Bill, I didn't see any creative runs either. Any
they didn't have to, though.
Reverses. No, I'm saying for the 49ers, I didn't see any creativity in the run game. It was just basic run. It was pitch. It was dive. It was zone. That's what it was.
I mean, but that's what you get a lot when you run a lot of zone, especially the outside, which they do because they like to pull and get out, and then they'll let him run behind people. You're not going to run a lot of
Look, Mo that's watched them all year. Mo, I want to hear you in the chat. Did their offense have a lot more creative running plays during the regular season, during the playoffs? I felt like their creative run game was very, very bad.
I don't disagree with you, but I think at the same time, to my kind of my other point, they were so successful at the basic stuff. When they needed 2 yards, they were like, we're just going to run a dive and run the clock and get another first down and start over. And in the Super Bowl, I don't hate that. I don't. It's keeping the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. It's working clock. You get a first down. It's 2 minutes. Know how to slice it. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think you need to run. I'm going to say gimmicky stuff, but I know what you're saying with counters or stuff like that. But that's really not their bread and butter either. They run that zone. They love running that outside zone to the outside because if they get him around the corner, he's going to get 10 yards every time.
You're right. My next question, we're going to move on to our power ranking shortly, but I want to ask you guys this. I want to ask you, I want to ask everybody in the chat. A lot of talk about Mahomes being the McGoat. He's not the GOAT yet, obviously. I would love to know where you chat, all of you guys, please post in the comments, and you, Shally, and Cottrell will be right back on in a second, have Patrick Mahomes ranked in your top 10 list. I have moved him up officially. I will tell you where I have him after you give me yours, because I don't want you cheating off me. I don't want you stealing my thunder. I'm kidding, obviously, but in the chat, where do you have Mahomes? You got ahead of Brady, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. Where do you have him? 3 Super Bowls, 3 MVPs. Where's he at right now? Godfrey says number 4 quarterback all time behind Manning, Montana, and Brady. Where do you got him, brother?
I got him 3.
Behind who?
Brady and Montana.
Wow, you have him passing Manning already.
I do.
Saigon says Brady, Montana, and my homeboy.
So I have number 3.
I have him. So if he retired tomorrow, you think he's the 3rd greatest quarterback of all time? It's not projection, bro. He retires today. He goes, you know what? I'm done with football. I've done everything I need to do. 3rd best of all time.
All right. Well, I mean, you can't not say projection though, because
it's not projections. Where he's at right now.
But okay, but again, I'm still putting him where I'm putting him. Because and the reason you can't say to guy, like, I understand what you're asking, but like this point in his career with what he has left and what he's already done, like he's what, 9-30 and he's got 3 rings.
So projecting, I project him to be the greatest of all time. I project him to be number 1. That's projecting. But that's not what we're asking, right? I'm asking where he's at right now. If he retired tomorrow, where do you rank him?
I mean, he's got 3 rings.
Manning's
Manning's got 2.
I have him 6th all time. And I don't think that's crazy.
I don't think either answer is crazy. I just, again, 3 MVPs, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 3 rings. I mean, that's better than Manning. I'm sorry, it just is. I'm a huge Peyton Manning guy. He's accomplished more.
He got one more ring, 2 less MVPs. So it's not like I mean, you could say it's better than Manning, but like, once again, how much stock do you take in it being a team sport? Like, let me give you an example, right? Is Trent Dilfer a better quarterback than Dan Marino? The answer is obviously no, right? Because it's a team sport and Super Bowls aren't everything. So here's my list, and I'll tell you exactly where I'm at, right? I'm going to give you an order, and I'm going to make it look clean for you. I got Tom Brady, number 1, 7-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time MVP, winningest quarterback in NFL history. Fair? Okay. Joe Montana, number 2, 4-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time MVP, 4-0 in Super Bowls. Peyton Manning, number 3, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time league MVP, 10-time first-team All-Pro. I think that's, Mahomes hasn't played 10 years yet. This guy was listed as the number 1 quarterback 10 times in his career. It's insane. Number 4, and I know I'm going to get shit for this. You guys can already give it to me in the chat. I know I'm nuts. I get it. I got Dan Marino, number 4. And I'm going to tell you why I have Dan Marino, number 4. If Dan Marino, man, here's the thing, right? And this drives me nuts, right? 6-time All-Pro quarterback, league MVP 1984 in his second year, multiple records broken. He was the first quarterback ever to 5,000 yards. If I was throwing a football 30 yards and wanted to hit a target, and I could pick anybody in their prime, I'd pick Dan Marino. Best arm ever. Here's the thing, right? He had Mark Clayton and Mark Duper, running backs that you can't even mention, and a mid-grade defense. That's not his fault. And the argument of quarterback being the only position where wins and losses matter, I'll ask you right now, who's the greatest running back of all time? You're going to say Barry Sanders. He's never won shit. So I got Marino 4. Number 5, I got John Elway, 2-time Super Bowl champion, league MVP in 1987, 11th in quarterback rushing yards, and 6, I have Patrick Mahomes ahead of Rodgers, Breeze, Favre, Steve Young. That's my list. I'm sticking to it. I understand if you guys have him higher. I'm projecting Mahomes to be number 1 ever, but I have him 6th. That's where I have him.
It'll be curious to see if he gets to number 1. I mean, I think it'd be foolish not to say he's probably going to pass Montana. 7's a big number. There's still 4 more. I mean, like you said, there's a lot to get there. Then to pass him, it's even kind of crazier. But
I don't think he needs to pass 7 to be better than Brady. I think if he has 5 MVPs, 5 Super Bowl rings, he's right now in the same point of their career. Did you know that Mahomes has 10,000 more passing yards than Brady did at 28?
It's a different game, dude.
I understand.
You can't. I'm just saying this. You can't use the ring thing, which is like your definitive thing between LeBron and Michael, but then go to football. And
it's not my definitive thing.
Super Bowl rings don't matter. They matter, dude.
And they matter, but they're not the end all be all.
He went to 10 of them.
That's fine.
And
so you're saying if Mahomes goes to 5, breaks all the passing records, touchdown records, has 5 MVPs, breaks all the records, you don't think that Mahomes would be listed as better than Tom Brady? People already put him ahead of him 3.
It's literally the exact MJ LeBron thing, dude.
So then why don't you have Bill Russell as your GOAT?
What's the difference?
Bill Russell's got 11 rings. Michael's only got 6.
Yeah, but Jordan's 6-0. But LeBron has every record in the world. He's been to more finals than Michael, but he doesn't win as much. And Michael's still number 1. Why? Because
Michael was better. I watched them both. That's why. Because Michael was better.
You can't tell me Tom Brady's not an amazing quarterback.
He's an amazing quarterback. I have him as my greatest of all time. You're not going to get me to downplay Tom Brady, but I don't agree with you that you have to win 8 Super Bowls or 7 to pass him.
You want to knock the GOAT off? You got to beat the biggest thing that matters.
Guys, I want to hear you guys in the chat. Are you Team Shally here? Are you Team Gene? What team are you on here? Do you think that he has to have 7 or 8 rings to beat Brady? I don't think so. I think that's a non-argument. Let's go to the chat real quick. Mahomes over Manning and Marino. I get it. I don't agree. This guy, Derek Dempsey's got Patty over Elway. Tom Gallo, Brady is the greatest football player ever. He made everybody better around him. I agree with that. Mo, I'm with Shallcross. Okay. Brandon, Mahomes only quarterback in the top 10 who's never been hit before. Kelsey hit Andy harder than anything Mahomes knows. All right, bro. He's been hit before. Stop it. He's been concussed before.
Brandon's a Mahomes hater, dude. He said he was washed 2 years ago. Don't listen to him.
Yes, has to beat all Brady's records. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have to beat all Brady's records. And by the way, let's just say he won 6 Super Bowls because you guys are saying 7. let's just say he won 6 Super Bowls.
See, I think the argument, if he gets to 7, though, then I think you could make an argument, because then you could say, all right, well, like they won the same. I mean, I don't know if he's going to win more games than Brady at that point, but it would probably be close if he played that long.
There he is. About time this guy got back.
And then his numbers are going to be – his passing numbers obviously are going to be better. Then I think you make the fair argument. If he only gets to 5, then, again, man, it's the same thing.
We're arguing about right now is, Cottrell, where do you have Mahomes now in your all-time leader of quarterbacks?
For me, he's at number 4.
4. Okay, behind Montana, Manning, and Brady?
Correct.
Okay, I have him 6. And I get it. I'm saying it, and this is if he retires tomorrow. Yeah. I have him at 6. I can't put him.
Who are the other? Who are your other 2 ahead of him?
I have Marino and Elway ahead of him right now.
Marino's tough because I get it. He was the most. I'd argue before Pat and Aaron came around, he was. Even with those guys, some could still argue that he's the most talented, thrower of the football ever. So
I agree with that.
I understand that. I understand that argument.
That.
I understand that argument for sure. I just think at this point, 6 AFC championships, 3 Super Bowl wins, 4 appearances, 2 MVPs, 3 Super Bowl MVPs. Like, you stack that resume up there with Dan Marino's resume. Like, it dwarfs it. And then in comparison to Elway, I think obviously Elway's longevity, I can understand if you give him the edge there because he's got 3 rings as well. But I just think with what Pat is doing right now, like that's why I give him the edge over Elway and Marino too.
My question for you, and you got to break this tie, because Shally says that Mahomes has to get to 7 rings to pass Brady. And I don't agree with that. I think he's already 10,000 yards ahead of him at this point in their career. And not to mention probably 1,500 to 2,000 more yards rushing the football. So I don't believe that he needs to get to 7 rings to pass Brady. Do you think he needs to get to 7 rings? See, Godfrey said that 3 people trump all records. So if we went out there and won a 3rd Super Bowl this year.
Brady's got one, though. Brady's got a
3. No, he doesn't. He won 2, lost
3 or 4?
2. 3 or 4, yes, that's correct.
3 or 4. So, I don't think he needs to get to 7 to pass Tom. You guys know how I feel about these conversations. I think it also depends on how long he plays. I don't think Pat's going to necessarily play until he's 43. I don't think Pat his game won't last that long. So, like, if we see a decline of Pat once he turns like 32 and he has 5, I think it's going to ultimately end. Like, we're going to be talking about how his career ended up and where his numbers stack up. But I think if he can get 5. I think he could be there.
John Suggs said it. I think if he gets 5 in 10 years and 5 MVPs, that's it. I agree with him. All right, so guys, we got to get into our next season power rankings. We've got a lot to get into. We did a lot of Super Bowl breakdown, which is great. It's fun. It's the biggest game of the year. I want to get into this is the 2024-2025 season power rankings. These aren't where I think they'll finish. It's their power rankings going into next year. Now, our lists are definitely different. What did you do? How they finish?
No, not necessarily how they're finished, but just how I view them. How I view them as a whole for next year. Not necessarily like based on this year or whatever. I just how I look at
power rankings going into next season. I agree with that. That's exactly what we're talking about. I think it's very interesting. I have the Cleveland Browns and Cottrell. Oh, no, there he is. I'm just making sure. I was making sure that Cottrell had the Browns on there. He's just got them higher. And Shally's got them. Okay, we got to look at the Browns. I'm looking for ones. No one's got the Jets. Look at that. I like the Jets. That's me. It's a Gene thing right here. I like the Cowboys. And you way higher than you guys do. Look at the Bengals. Nobody's got the Bengals. All right, let's get into it. Cottrell, go through your list. This is not one of those one we go back and forth, right?
Sure.
Go through your list. Then Shally, go through your list, and I'll go through mine. We're not going to spend an hour breaking down why we have each team where. Just go through your list in a rather, cordial fashion.
For sure. I think Houston is a team that is going to be poised to win the AFC South. And I think with that being the case, I fully expect them to add more pieces to that team. I think they're going to be very, very good team next year. I got the Cowboys 9. A lot of my question marks are going to be, what does that defense look like without Dan Quinn being there? Who do they hire? I know they got Zimmer, but how does that team look without Dan Quinn being there? And ultimately, who do they move on from roster-wise this season? A lot of dysfunction over there in Dallas, almost as much as San Francisco. So I just don't know what they're going to ultimately look like. Buffalo Bills, I got at 8. I think Buffalo is a team that can really be on the rise for me if they go out and get a linebacker and add some other pieces on that defense. I love them keeping Joe Brady, so I got them at 8. Got the Browns here at 7. I think the Browns are going to be a team that can ultimately get healthy, and they're keeping all their same core, their coaching staff. I know they got rid of Alex Van Pelt as their OC, but it doesn't really matter too much because Kevin Calls plays there. I think that if they stay healthy, they'll be good. I got the Eagles at 6, another team who I think could potentially get a lot higher. I love the 2 coordinator hires they made. I think my questions come in from, if they trade Hassan Reddick, are they going to potentially move on from A.J. Brown? I just don't know for sure what that roster looks like. That's why I settled for them at 6. Number 5, I got the L.A. Chargers. I absolutely love their roster right now, and I do think they're going to move on from either Bosa or Khalil Mack, get them some money, and fill it out in the way that is going to be there for Harbaugh. I think Harbaugh goes in, he makes the turnaround immediately, and I think they're going to compete for the AFC West. Number 4, I'm a little bit lower on the San Francisco 49ers than you guys are. And for me, that is the question mark with Brandon Ayuk and who are they going to hire to be their new DC. Those are my biggest question marks there. Everybody ahead of them, I think they're going to make the right moves to be there. And number 3, Detroit Lions. They stay packed. Ben Johnson's there. Offense is going to be great. I think they go get 2 corners, and they might be the best team in football next year. I think that's all Detroit's missing. They're missing some secondary members. They'll be great. Baltimore, only reason why I didn't put them 1 is because I don't know if their defense is going to be quite as good as it was last year because Mike McDonald is ultimately going on to Seattle. Still think they're great. I think they're going to make moves this offseason as well. And then I got Kansas City being number 1 only because of Patrick Mahomes. I think they make moves. They'll have a little bit more money to spend. You re-sign Chris Jones. You re-sign L'Jarius Sneed. You get Pat a receiver. He's proven he doesn't need it, but if you get him one, it makes his life easier. I think the Chiefs are going to be your number 1 team headed into next year.
See, where I think that your list is wrong, and listen, it's all obviously subjective, but the one thing I don't like about your list is this. We talked about this, and we said power rankings. Now, these aren't projections for how they'll finish during the season.
I get
if
it.
You're power ranking the Chargers 5 with all the pieces that they have to move off that roster with 2 guys coming back from season-ending injuries. I think that's kind of crazy. I don't like – and listen, I think Jim Harbaugh is going to do a great job for the Chargers, but you're telling me a team that finished last in their division that's going to lose Khalil Mack and probably Joey Bosa and have a worse roster walking into the season is power ranked 5th just because they added a head coach, which they needed. I get it. I just can't – I don't think the roster to power ranked 5th.
Well, you went last place in your division and power rank 6. So, I mean, it's not that big of a difference there. Joe Burrow coming off of a season. So did the Chargers. He's coming off of a season-ending injury.
First of all, they shut him down.
He's coming off
with 3 games left. That's totally different.
It was not 3 games left. They were still in the mix. It was like 8 games that he missed.
I'll look it up. I don't think it was 8 games.
Who?
He missed quite a few on the back. Oh, you're talking about.
Oh, look it up.
I thought you were talking about Burrow.
No, Burrow missed a ton of games.
That's what I was talking about. I was talking about Burrow.
And you said Justin Herbert lost their quarterback all year.
No, I was talking about Burrow.
He played almost every game.
Herbert did not almost play every game.
Yes, he did. I'm looking at it right now. He played 5, 10, 13 games, bro.
He got 4 games. I mean, I would say 12 because the game that he didn't finish, but regardless, Herbert being there, you say losing Bosa and losing Mack makes them worse. Bosa is $25 million every year, and he's not on the field. So if you could find ways to move that money and get in other positions there, I think they can easily go from worst to first. I think they're better than their Raiders, and I think they're better than the Broncos. So that instantly puts them at number 2 in that division.
Okay. I don't agree with that. I think that you have them projected too high, which is the power ranking.
I think you have the Bengals projected way too high.
That's fair. I'll make my argument there.
Man, it was so nice. It was I think it was like 5 straight weeks with no Herbert argument. And here we are. Got back to it again.
Well, you don't have him either.
I don't have him. I think it's going to take. I mean, I'm the biggest Harbaugh guy on the show by far. I think it's going to take him a year. I think they're 50 over the cap. They got to make they got to make a lot of moves. But I think this is the last easy year for Mahomes. But I think the biggest thing with the Chargers will be where I agree with Cottrell is the whole culture and everything inside that locker room is going to change.
I agree with that.
Fifth is. Listen, I mean, I hope you're right, but I just don't. I don't know. I don't know if I can back it right now. But I'll start with my list here. I'll go through this pretty quick. Houston, Texas, number 10. I think they're the best team in that division. Which, if I would have said that a year ago, I think I would have said I was going crazy. But I think they're the best team in that division. They arguably have the best quarterback in that division. Another year under DeMeco Ryans. They're going to add more talent this year. They have money to spend. I think they're going to go out and get another wide receiver, maybe a running back, one of these big names that's going to be on the market. That defense is going to be another year better. Will Anderson, Stingley, all those guys. Houston, Texas, number 10, I think is an easy one. I have the Cowboys 9, which is lower than both you guys for a lot of the reasons that Cottrell mentioned. Dan Quinn was dialed in on that defense with that personnel. They played hard for him. Not saying Mike Zimmer's a bad coach. He's a very good DC. But they're going to be losing people. They're going to get Diggs back. Gilmore's not signed. They have signings they have to make on the offensive line. And, I'm not going to pile on, but they still have Dak Prescott. I'm just not going to be a believer in that team. They got CeeDee Lamb's contract coming up. That team is probably going to start to look a lot different next year. I don't buy into Dak. So 9 for me. Cleveland Browns, great defense. They will get, obviously, their star running back next year and hopefully get a full year to Deshaun Watson and really, I guess, finally see what they really have. I don't know. But I think that defense is good enough. You saw it this year with, Joe Flacco taking them into the playoffs. It is that team is – that's a very good football team if they can stay healthy. 7, I have the Eagles. I think you could argue to put the Eagles probably as high as 3 or 4. And if you really want to make an argument to not have them on their list, I think you could do that too. I think they still have one of the most talented teams on paper. Love Vic Fangio. I'm a little bit more apprehensive about Kellen Moore, but this is kind of their put up or shut up year. So I have number 7 just off sheer talent alone. Buffalo Bills. Mostly because of the way they ended the season. I think they go out and I think they get another wide receiver to pair with Diggs so he can stop crying, or maybe they move on from Diggs and bring in somebody else. But Josh Allen and squad, I think that defense is going to be obviously more healthy next year than they were this year. It won't just be impossible for them not to be. So number 6 for me is Buffalo. Number 5, Miami. Same kind of thing. All the talent in the world offensively have – they'll get a lot of their injured guys back from defense this year when they started out hot. They should be ready to go by opening day or close to it next year. I think that defense will look a lot different like it did kind of beginning of the year. So I'm number 5. Baltimore, I'm number 4. I love Baltimore. I love the way they play. The only problem with Baltimore is they have 25 unrestricted free agents. And out of those 25, 18 of them saw significant time this year. That roster is going to look different no matter how you cut it. They can't bring them all back. So there's a little uncertainty there for Baltimore. So kind of have to wait to see how the dust settles there before and see what that roster really looks like. Number 3, I agree with Cottrell. I think Detroit has the ability to absolutely be bona fide Super Bowl contenders next year. If they can get the defense short up a little bit, that offense is still going to do its thing. Jahmyr Gibbs will be a second-year player. Get Laporta back and all those guys. So Detroit's got nowhere to go but up. Kansas City, I have 2. Strictly because of the Chris Jones and what's his face. I got to see how that plays out. They are 2 huge cogs in that defense. I don't know with money and everything going on if they're going to bring them both back. I don't. I think that roster has potential to look a little different next year, but I can't put them any lower than 2 because they have Patrick Mahomes. Number one, I have San Fran simply because that entire roster for the most part is going to be back next year. Ayuk is the only really big question mark, and he still has a year left on his contract. So unless he sits out, they're going to run it back with pretty much exactly what they had this year, minus Chase Young. So I don't think they bring him back after the way he played when they traded for him. So number one for me.
He said, which team just missed my list? My 11 and 12 were Houston and Miami. Just FYI.
Miami
11 was Cincinnati for me.
All right, so I have the Browns number 10. I just don't think that the upgrade from – they won 12 games without their starting quarterback and starting running back. I think they're going to be there in the mix. I just don't think the upgrade from Flacco to Deshaun Watson is going to be as much as people think it's going to be. Deshaun Watson has not shown me one bit that he is Houston Deshaun Watson. And I know Cottrell wants to believe he is, but I don't think he is. He hasn't looked good since he's been there. So I think that Joe Flacco ran that offense very confidently, and I don't think the upgrade from Deshaun Watson to Joe Flacco will be much. My number 9 is the Buffalo Bills, and I don't like the Buffalo Bills 9. I'd rather put them lower, if I'm being honest. They're under. They have Josh Allen. That's why they're number 9. But they're $18 million under the cap, over the cap already. They have to make some changes. They'll get some guys back from injury. We'll see. I'm the only one that has New York Jets on this, and it's because I really believe in Aaron Rodgers coming back this year. I believe in that offense. I believe they'll invest in that offensive line, and I believe in Aaron Rodgers really putting that team on his back. I actually have a crazy, thing that I'll say next. I believe in Robert Saleh, right? Everyone wants him fired, but I believe in him. I think the New York Jets will be a very good football team this next year. I think the only thing they were missing this past year was a quarterback. And a little bit of an offensive line. So I think if you get them off 2 offensive linemen and you get Rodgers back, I think that team's elite. Number 7, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not as optimistic as Cottrell is on them. I'm probably not as optimistic as Shally is. I wish I would have put them lower. If I'm being honest, I don't believe in Nick Sirianni. I think Hassan Reddick's not on the roster next year. I think Jason Kelce retires. I think there's a lot of people, a lot of things that need to happen. Yes, I like both coordinators they brought in. I'm not sure how this roster is going to look. James Bradbury can't start for you next year. And you owe him a lot of money, and you either got to ship him out or pay someone to take him. That's a problem. My number 6 is the Cincinnati Bengals. So this is the point of contention, and I can't wait to get into this. When the second best quarterback in football comes back to your football team, and you have the second best wide receiver in football, and you franchise tag T. Higgins, and you have $60 million in cap space, I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be right back where they were. It took the year off after losing to the Rams in the Super Bowl. The next year, they come up a little bit shy to Kansas City Chiefs. A 3-point game, they lose their quarterback. That team was rolling. They just smashed the 49ers in Frisco with Joe Burrow, and then he gets hurt. Yeah, I'll take Cincinnati at 6. My number 5 is the Dallas Cowboys. How do you not have the Dallas Cowboys ahead of the Philadelphia Eagles? I hate the Cowboys. Hate them. Hate. They return everybody. Everyone's back. They lose Dan Quinn. They replace him with Mike Zimmer. I don't know. They're the same guy. Mike Zimmer's a great defensive mind. Dallas is beating the snot out of Philadelphia when they've been healthy every single time. There is 2 seed in the NFC this past year. They got beat by Jordan Love. I think Dallas comes back strong. I think this is the last year of Dak and McCarthy for them to make a run, and I think they will. But I think they'll get upstaged by the Detroit Lions. Love what Detroit's doing. I love the youth. All that youth is going to get a year more experience. I love what Detroit's doing. I think the NFC is loaded on the top of their division. I love Detroit. I think Detroit being 4, and I wish I could have put them higher. I had the Kansas City Chiefs 3. There's one thing I was sure of after watching the Kansas City Chiefs parade today. There's no way they win the 3rd straight Super Bowl. None. That team, look, exhale, whatever you want to call it, they didn't look good this regular season. They turned it on in the playoffs. I don't think they'll look good next year. I think more and more cap penalties and cap issues you're going to run into at Kansas City. I think they have enough to sign all wide receiver that might make them a little bit better. They got to re-sign Chris Jones. He's a priority. L'Jarius Sneed, he's got to be a priority. There's a lot of money coming on the books for Kansas City, and they can't keep everybody. Number 2, I have the San Francisco 49ers. You got one more year of Purdy's magical contract before you have to pay them. And with that, you get the opportunity and the ability to sign big name players for big money. I think San Francisco brings in Brian Flores to be their defensive coordinator, and I think they're just as good, if not better. But my number one team is the Baltimore Ravens. And I hate saying this. I'm not a Baltimore guy, but I think that the Baltimore Ravens have two of the best young defensive players in football. Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton. Lamar Jackson is electric. He makes things happen. You're going to get running backs back. I think they signed Derrick Henry this offseason. I think Baltimore is going to be just as good, if not better, this year than they were last year. Let's give our Super Bowl predictions and then move on, gentlemen. Charles, did my Cincinnati pick make any more sense when I told you about the $60 million in cap space? Or would you like to continue with your Chargers, who are $50 million over already?
No, I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but I mean, you got Joe Burrow, who's
the second best quarterback in football.
He's injury prone.
Second best quarterback in football.
Correct. They also lost their OC to go be a head coach in Nashville, so I don't know what that offense looks like. You talk about them franchise tagging T. Higgins. I mean, I think that's a very likely scenario. I know the reports came out about it today, but if you can go ship T. Higgins off for a second-round pick, I think that's what they're going to do, because I don't think they're going to ultimately end up paying him a large contract to be their number two. So, I mean, I still have question marks. The Bengals O-line didn't look great last year. They got all the money in the world. They went out and signed Orlando Brown and things like that. He didn't really work out for them because Joe Burrow still got hurt. So, I think they got to fix the O-line, and that's got to be the number one priority for me. So until I see it, that's when I'll believe it.
I think their priority's got to be offensive line and defense.
Dallas will definitely not have the same roster next year either.
I got the wildest Super Bowl prediction, and I'm either going to be dead right or dead wrong. I'm telling you right now, there's no if this Super Bowl prediction happens, I need to be like on ESPN tomorrow. It's wild. It's nuts. Are you sure you're ready for? I'll go first. You want to go first?
That's fine. I mean, I know mine, but
do you want to go first?
No, go ahead. No, still your shine.
My Super Bowl prediction for next year. I have the Detroit Lions coming out of the NFC. Doesn't sound too wild yet, right? Versus the New York Football Jets. Give me Lions, Jets, Super Bowl. I love that matchup. I think Dan Campbell versus Robert Saleh. Give me the hard-nosed coaches. That's what my Super Bowl prediction is. Lions, Jets.
So I guess I'll go next here, because I also have the Lions going to the Super Bowl next year. I think the Lions are going to be the team to beat in the NFC. They get two corners. Look out. AFC, I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they go back for a third straight time. I've been saying it all postseason. I'm not betting against Pat anymore. Every game I see him playing the playoffs, he's 15-3 there. If he's going up against anybody, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt to win every time.
Look at this, guys. All these guys picking the Bengals to go to Super Bowl. Bengals, Rams. That's wild. Lions, Bengals. Look at that.
I picked the Bengals last year. They burned me. Joe Burrow and his messed up thumb. I'm going to say I'm going to go the 49ers and the Buffalo Bills.
49ers, Buffalo Bills. You got the Steve Berman prediction.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, Lions, Bengals. Like this one. Another Bengals.
I'm not going to lie to you, though. There is a team that I think could not Super Bowl, but I think the Chicago Bears make the playoffs next year. I love the Bears next year. I don't care who's that. I don't care what they do. If they get Caleb and they trade Justin and get another first rounder, they got 9, they got a shit ton of money to spend in free agency as well. Like,
I don't trust Matt Eberflus, bro.
Yeah,
I get that. I get that too.
You can have all the money in the world. You still got to sign the right people with it.
They're going to do the same thing that the Bears always do. They're going to draft a quarterback in a lame duck coach year. They're going to underperform. They're going to fire the coach, and they're going to marry a new coach to the quarterback. I don't understand how they keep doing this. They did it with Trubisky. They did it with Fields, and they're going to do it with Williams. It's insanity.
Keep Justin Fields.
Yep. Because if you keep Fields, Yeah, I would love him to go to Atlanta. That's where I project him to go for like a year. Let's get into some UFC action, boys. We got a fired up 49 minutes left in this show. I love this card. Love this card. By the way, that one fight isn't right because Ikram Aliskerov is off the card. He has been replaced, but we'll get into that. He's been replaced with my guy, Roman Kopylov. All right, so do you have the fights one by one, right?
Just the main and co-main.
Okay, so let's talk about the undercard then. I want to talk about Merab versus Henry Cejudo. How we're getting this fight and Henry Cejudo being the underdog in this hell of a fight as the fourth fight on a card is incredible to me. Shout out to UFC. 297 was a dud. 298 is worth the price of admission. You're getting Roman Kopylov in the first fight. He's going to beat up Anthony Hernandez. You're going to get Merab versus Cejudo. You get Ian Gary, up-and-coming star, versus Jeff Neal. And then we'll get into the two main cards. I don't want to break down too much of the bottom three cards, but I do want to talk about Merab versus Henry Cejudo. Who do you like in this fight, Kittrell? Do you think Merab's the favorite? Are you a Merab guy? Do you think Cejudo comes back from the shoulder injury? Like, what's your thought?
I am a Merab guy. I think Merab is the best talent in that division. I think Merab is going to be a future champion of that bantamweight division. I really think he reminds me so much of Volk. He's relentless with his energy. He's so sound in striking and with his takedowns as well. Like this is a guy that's going to get after you for, in this case, 15 minutes straight. So I do like Merab to win this fight here. And I like that Aljamain is no longer the champion in that division because you're going to see Merab go challenge for the belt here very soon. So I like Merab. I think it goes to decision, but I think it's a pretty dominant win for Merab.
Talking about dominant win, you're talking about Merab, who dominated Peter Yan, who I was a huge fan of on a UFC fight night. Peter Yan's just basically been put away. Beat up Jose Aldo, beat up Marlon Moraes. I like Merab also in this fight. I think Henry Cejudo is literally a stepping stone right now in this division. So give me Merab.
I like Merab as well. I think 2-1 though. I don't want to call Henry Cejudo quite a stepping stone, but I think this is. If you're gonna look at one fight on here that could probably steal the show and be the fight of the night, it's probably this one. If Cejudo can get through the first couple rounds and kind of use his experience and weather the storm, like Cottrell said, Merab likes to just come forward. I mean, the guy just goes, got gas tank for days. I think this is a very entertaining fight. I mean, a lot of landed punches, a lot of leg kicks. It's going to be that's going to be a hell of a fight. Second on the card. But I agree with you guys. I like Merab 2-1, but I think it's a damn good fight.
Okay. I don't think it's going to be that good of a fight. I think Henry Cejudo hasn't seen a win since 2020. And I really just I didn't seen anything versus Aljamain because his shoulder popped out. I just don't trust him. I really don't. It's been 4 years since the guys put a win on the board. I think Merab runs through him. Knife through butter.
He didn't fight for a couple of those years. That's a little bit of a.
Well, yeah, you're right. He didn't fight for 21 or 22. He fought one time in 2023. He had a shoulder injury from camp. Like, yeah, you're right. I think he's washed. I think he's done. We'll find out. Any other things you guys want to talk about 3 undercards before we move forward?
No, I mean, Ian Gary is the one fight I would say that it's finally time. We're seeing him take that next step in the 170 class. And, I think this can be the one that catapults him to that. We're talking about him fighting a Bilal, or we're talking about him potentially fighting for a belt next. I mean, Ian Gary's undefeated. Nickname is the future for a reason. So, I mean, if he puts on the show in this one, I think Ian Gary has the ability to really catapult himself into that championship contention.
I like Ian Gary a lot.
I like Ian Gary a lot. I think he walks through Jeff Neal.
I agree. Is Jeff Neal a stepping stone? Can we say that?
You can say that.
Just making sure.
I think Henry is at this point too, Gene. So I'm with you there.
I agree. I just wanted to see where I got to make sure Chal is on board with me. All right. Co-main event of the evening. In this corner, blue corner, you got 33 years old, 6 foot, 185 pounds, 73.5-inch reach, Robert Whitaker. And in the red corner, 32 years old, 6 foot 185 pounds, 72-inch reach, Paulo the Mouth Costa. I very rarely pick Robert Whitaker. Probably been considered a Robert Whitaker hater on this show, maybe once or twice. I hope that Robert Whitaker puts the beating on Paulo Costa that he deserves. I'm not a Paulo Costa fan at all. I do think Robert Whitaker's on the downside of his career. It wouldn't shock me if Paulo Costa won the fight, but I'm going with my heart, and I'm going with Whitaker.
I mean, both these guys are early 30s going on 50 in terms of fight years. Both these guys have just taken absolute beatings in the ring, but I'm going to go with Gene on this one. I think this is another, while I don't think Whitaker's on his way up still, he probably is on the downside. I think it's another example of Whitaker can beat pretty much everybody but the top guy. I think Whitaker's a little bit more of a smarter fighter. Paulo Costa just loves absorbing damage for some reason. I don't know why. But I'm going with Gene too. I'm going with Whitaker.
Now I'm going with Paulo here. I'm not a Paulo fan by any means, but I do think this is really the kind of fight that he needs to revive his career. You talk about these guys being on the down slope of their career. I actually don't think Paulo is on the downslide at this point. I mean, I know he's only a year younger than Robert, but Robert has so many more miles on his body at this point than what Paulo does. And you got to remember too, Paulo is a guy that's been really picking and choosing his fights. I mean, he's pulled out of fights because of, his hair transplant or whatever he had going on. And he made the excuses.
4 out of the last 5 fights canceled.
Exactly. So Paulo is a guy who, he picks and chooses his spots very wisely. So, I think Paulo's going to take care of Bobby Knuckles. I think he's going to knock him out. And, I do think there's a chance that this might be the last fight we see of Robert Whitaker, because I don't think he wants to be a stepping stone guy. We've been throwing that word around here. You lose to Paulo. His last fight, lost to Dricus. Like, I just don't think Robert Whitaker, as great of a former champion as he was, I don't think he wants to be that stepping stone in this division. So this might be one of the last times you see Robert Whitaker in the octagon.
I'm okay with that. I'm all right with either thing. I just would love Paulo Costa to just walk away. I can't stand him. I can't fight. My hair transplants didn't come in right. Scumbag. Take your beating like a man. All right, this is going to be a hell of a fight. 35-year-old Alexander Volkanovski, 5'5", 145 pounds, 71.5-inch reach advantage. The UFC 145 champion, coming off a knockout loss to Islam Makhachev. Going against the young, undefeated, up-and-coming 27-year-old, 5'6", 145 pound, 69-inch reach, Ilia Topuria. I don't like the fact that this is an even money fight. I'm not a fan of that. I understand that Volk is coming off one of his first losses ever, but I also watched Ilya fight against Josh Emmett in a fight in which I didn't think he looked dominant. And if he takes the shots from Alexander Volkanovski that he took from Josh Emmett, he is not finishing this fight. I'm going with Volk here. I love Volk in this spot. Ilya is a stud. I don't think his time is now. I think Volk bounces back. I think he's a mass murderer. I think he goes back and tries to fight against 155. Volk is just that guy. And I think the knockout versus Islam was a one-shot deal. Everyone can get caught. I think Volk bounces back strong here and beats the snot out of Ilya.
I like Volk too. I kind of echo a lot of Gene's sentiments on this one. I think Ilya is absolutely an uppercomer, probably a future champion as well. This is a little bit of a step up for him. We could talk about Volk losing his last fight. You got to look who he lost to, up in weight, and also top of everything else. dude's still top, and on everybody's list, still a top 5, pound for pound fighter in the world. I think Volk takes care of business here. I think it's a good fight. I think Ilya shows you flashes. I think he shows you, kind of the reason for the hype and and the push. But at the end of the day, I just think Volk's too well rounded. I agree with Gene as well. I think Volk's power is going to matter in this fight, and I'll go Volk.
So, a couple things I agree with, a couple things I disagree with. I will say with Ilya, I mean, you talk about his track record. I think if he can hang in there and he can go blow for blow with Josh Emmett. I mean, I think Josh Emmett is probably the strongest guy in that division. And you go blow for blow with him. I mean, I think you could take pretty much any punch from anybody in that division. Other thing with Ilya is that, I mean, he has a submission win over Bryce Mitchell. Like, obviously, if you know Thug Nasty, like that's his bread and butter down there on the ground. So I think Ilya is very well rounded. And with that said, as much as I love Ilya, I don't think he gets it quite done in this fight. I think experience is going to be a key factor here. I see it being a 3rd or 4th round TKO for Volk. And the only reason why I see that happening is because as great as Ilya is striking, he has this weird tendency where if he gets too excited, he does not block things on the back end. So I think Volk's going to catch him with the counter and put him down and ultimately, in the fight there. But I think Ilya looks great for all 3 or 4 rounds in this fight. Like, I think Ilya is going to be, a force to be reckoned with in this division for sure. 1,000% a future champion in this division. But I think Volk's experience is going to show, and he's got a counter for Ilya at the right time to put him down.
I do think it's kind of interesting how you brought up the submission win over Bryce Mitchell, but didn't bring up the fact that it was because Bryce Mitchell got not rocked and he was playing defense and then got tapped out. It wasn't like they were in a ground game struggle.
I mean, still though, that's
up for his life.
But that's Bryce's backyard though. He wants I mean, if hypothetically, if something like that happened to Charles, even if he gets knocked down on the ground, you don't expect him to get tapped. I'm not saying Bryce is on Charles's level by any means, but same kind of deal. You would think once Bryce, even with him on his back, I'm not expecting him to get tapped in any situation.
I get it. I just wanted to make that clear to the listeners at home that might not watch the fight. Ilya caught him, knocked him down, attacked him. Bryce basically gave up his back and then got tapped. That's how that happened. It wasn't like he was in this grappling mode with him and tapped him out. All right, well, I think it's going to be a fun card. I think you should tune in to UFC 298. I'm looking forward to that. Guys.
Soft plug here, too. UFC show's coming this week. It's coming this week.
What's it called?
Road to Gold. Road to Gold is going to be the UFC show. It'll be coming on Friday at 7. So if you can catch it live, obviously, would love to get you guys. My 2 friends, Ron and Dylan, are going to be the 2 hosts of the show. So a lot to come. Obviously, they're going to go over this entire card, and that's going to be a weekly show moving forward. So keep your eye out for Road to Gold on Fridays at 7.
Just tagged them. My man Dylan Mabin, Cachal's boy Ron. I can't wait for this show. We needed a UFC show on the network. Looking forward to more and more. By the way, a lot of stuff coming to Wire2Wire Sports Network. Might have a baseball show coming. Got a lot of stuff in the works. Shall you want to plug anything? Anything?
We're not there yet. Okay. We're gonna work out the kinks. It's a work in progress. I've been swamped, and I gotta get with Alex and figure it out.
I'm sick of you being swamped.
I'm sick of being swamped. I'm sick of being swamped too. Trust me. I'm trying to get Cottrell's father-in-law to do the F1 show. That's what I really want to do. But
we have a wrestling show coming soon. If Shally can answer his DMs,
wake up every Sunday and do F1. I could probably convince Liz to do an F1 show.
All right. Well, we're not talking about F1. We're talking about UFC. We're talking about baseball.
2 weeks, baby. Bahrain.
I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about fried food. I don't understand. What's F1?
F1.
Is that Formula One? Is that what that is?
There you go.
Okay.
Nobody calls it Formula One anymore.
I don't really care.
I know. A lot of other people do, though.
They really don't.
No, they do.
Everybody in the chat, an F1 fan. Just Put it in there. All right. Before we get into the rising stars, do you have a all right, so hold on? Do you have a graphic for Steph versus?
No.
Okay, I want to get into that first. Is that cool? I want to give all the credit to Sabrina Ionescu. I just want to give her credit, right? She is going to go one-on-one with Steph Curry at NBA All-Star Weekend. They offered to have her shoot from the women's line and Steph to shoot from the men's line. And Sabrina says, nah. I got range. I'm good. I will shoot from the men's line 3-point contest versus the greatest shooter in the world. So
she knows.
This is really interesting. Do you think, all right, so like if you had to give a shot, like a percentage shot, no, it's not. Stop it, John. Unless pressure gets to Steph, which I don't think it will. No, she's not. If they're going from the men's line, 51% chance means you think she's going to win. What percent chance do you give her to beat Steph Curry in a 3-point shootout? One round, one shot, one opportunity.
They're doing like normal rules, right? So like money ball at the end counts as 2. Like everything's normal.
Normal rules, yes. And the other thing too is that she is still going to be using the women's ball. I mean, I know she's going to be shooting from the men's range, but she's shooting with the women's ball. If I'm being honest, I'm giving her a 40% shot.
John Suggs said 60% chance.
I really think she's
from the men's line.
Distance is one thing. It's going to be wide open. It's nothing crazy. I mean, she shot from there before. It's not like she's just wet behind the ears and never shot balls from back there before. And she's gotten 3 weeks to warm up. And I'm sure every day, like right now, this is her off season. So in reality, she would be in the gym all day long, just shooting from 24 feet and putting down buckets. So Sabrina is a shooter for sure. So I give her a 40% shot. And Steph historically isn't like phenomenal and all the time in these 3-point contests either. Like, yeah, he puts up the great rounds for sure, but he's not always historically good in these contests.
See, that's where I'm stuck because I feel like there's no way he wants to lose this. And I feel like if he goes out and has one of those Steph rounds and puts up like 25 or something, like she's cooked. There's no point in her even going. I'll go 15%.
Oh, I'm going 10%. Ooh. And I have the final score being 27-19. That's where I have it.
I'll go 26-21.
Okay. It's within 5. It's not bad.
Yeah, no.
I'm going 31-29, Sabrina.
What? I mean, the money ball. I mean, you can technically get.
I think we can go up to. I think
30 points. Bro.
No, it's not because Sabrina broke the.
Yeah, but unless they're adding the Mountain Dew 4-point ball, which that would be 38 points if they add the 2 Mountain Dew 40. It's 6 points each rack. 5
racks. Yeah.
So they're just going normal.
I think they're doing normal rack.
Okay. So I mean, if that's the case, then I'll go 25-23. Sabrina.
Trell had her going perfect, +1.
31.
I mean,
she's not gonna miss.
Sabrina's already had. I mean, she's got the record for 3-point contests.
This will be more fun next year when it's Steph versus Caitlin Clark because that's what it'll be.
Oh man, Caitlin Clark versus Sabrina Ionescu.
I'll take
in a 3-point contest. I'm taking Sabrina. She's a better open shooter. Caitlin Clark's a better shooter off the dribble, a better overall shooter, but
I'll say Caitlin Clark.
Sabrina's not winning this. I give her a 10% shot. All right. We got Rising Stars first.
Rising Stars.
Oh, I love this. This is my favorite part of the weekend. Guys, what else are you doing? This is it. Friday night, 9 o'clock. I'll have one TV on SmackDown watching The Rock and Roman and the other TV watching this. I cannot wait to this. These teams are awesome. Now, except the Team Detlef. The D League team stinks this year. Sorry. Oscar Chiabwe. Let's go. Mac McClung. All right, so is Team Jalen playing Team Detlef? Is that like already known? Is that like what we're doing? Do they know the matchups?
I don't know what the matchups
Team Jalen has like a huge advantage.
Yeah, I don't know what the matchups are. The only thing that I will say that Detlef has going for him is Matas, or however you say the kid's name. If he wants to come out and put on the show, I think he can, because I mean, I'd imagine Chet probably gets limited run in that game just because, I mean, he's frail body, plus I'm sure they don't want him to potentially get hurt there. Obviously, all these kids are, important to their teams, but I think Chet being the most important there, I mean, I could see Matas potentially putting up some crazy numbers in that game, but the team this year is nowhere close to what last year's team was. That's for sure.
I think it's a bye week for Team Jalen if they play them. But I want to get into these teams, right? I think it's between two teams that can win it. I think it's either Team Tamika or Team Jalen. They're the best two teams out of the four. Anybody disagree with that?
I think Team Jalen and Team Power. I mean, I think that's a good game. I think they're close. I think Team Tamika is the head and shoulders best roster. We'll see how they play together, but I think they're the best team on paper by far.
I don't know, man. I really think the more and more I looked at this, I was Team Tamika immediately, right? I love Paulo Banchero, Keontae George, Keegan Murray, Dyson Daniels, Jaden Ivey. I'm a fan of him. Screw Scoot. But I like the team. I like Team Jalen better. Dude, Jalen Williams is a superstar. That kid has been so good this year. Not to mention you have the teammates, Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. I love that. I think that Benedict Matherin's instant offense, he's perfect in this game. Walker Kessler is a sniper. I don't know, man. I like Team Jalen a lot. I'm going to go with Team Jalen. Screw it. I'm going Team Jalen. You guys want to go with Team Tamika? I'm good with that. Give me Team Jalen.
So are you saying for sure the matchups are Team Jalen and Team Detlef?
You go through your picks, because I'm looking it up right now. I'll see if I can find it.
I like Team Pa. I don't think they're getting enough attention right now. Brandon Miller has finally found himself in the NBA. He's playing great basketball right now. They got Wemby. Wemby and Chet are going to go at it. I'm hoping that that's the matchup, because that's who I want to see guard each other and have some fun during this weekend. Cason Wallace has been decent. Bilal's quietly having a good year with the Wizards. And then obviously Jaime Jaquez is probably number 3 in terms of rookie of the year right now. Distant number 3, but 3 nonetheless. So, I mean, I think Team Powell can definitely compete.
I think number 3 on their team is Brandon Podinsky a rookie?
Yes.
I would have him 3 over Jaime.
All right, here we go. Game 1 is Team Jalen versus Team Tamika. Game 2 is Team Detlef versus Team Powell. Winners play Game 3.
Well, Team Powell's a bye.
Yeah, Team Powell's a bye. That changes a lot. And by the way, Team Powell is filled with a bunch of guys that have no real games to play for.
Yep.
Houston, San Antonio, Charlotte. I will say this. Doesn't Team Powell look like Victor Wembanyama and a bunch of guys that might be busts?
No.
I don't say bust.
Smith is a scrub.
He's
Jabari Smith. I mean, he's not. He didn't live up to the billing, but Brandon Miller's playing great. Brandon's playing good in his role. Bilal's playing good in Washington. They just suck.
I'll tell you, Team Powell's problem is, I think they're going to defend the hell out of the ball. When Gene read me these rosters originally on the phone, a little bit ago, a couple days ago, I just don't know how they're going to struggle to score if somebody decides to play defense. I think they'll defend like crazy though, but I mean they're going to walk through Team Detlef though.
See, I think that Team Jalen I'm still picking Team Jalen. They got everything. They have everything. That roster's got everything. Where's the weakness on Team Jalen's roster?
It's at guard for sure.
I mean,
Benedict is the best guard, but their weakness is at guard. No doubt about it.
Yeah. I'm staying with Tamika.
I'll take Team Paul.
You got the bye.
That's fine.
Fine,
Still got to
fair,
win the big
fair.
one. Still got to win the big one.
I'll go with Team Jalen. I'm staying with Team Jalen. I was on Team Tamika immediately when I read these rosters, and then I switched over to Team Jalen. All right, what we got next? Oh, the skills competition. Team Pacer. Oh, wow. Team top picks. I'll tell you right now who's not going to win. Team All-Stars. Not winning the skills competition. Tyrese Maxey can't make a bunny at the damn All-Star game, bro. It's not happening. I'm going to go with Team Top Picks. I love that squad. Jesus. That's real? I love the skills on that team. Give me Team Top Picks.
They will not let Indiana go home without winning this competition. Give me the Pacers, Halliburton, Benedict, Miles. I think they're going to be the tryhards there. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, the Cavs won a couple years ago, and they had Jared Allen out there. So I mean, they're going to be the ones that try hard to win the competition. Top picks, two of the three guys are all-stars. They might be a little bit more lackadaisical with it. I'm going with the Pacers to make sure they bring it home for Indiana.
I'll tell you, Ant-Man will 100% be going 100 miles an hour. He will not be
that. He might be too cool for school.
Maybe. I don't think he would sign up for this if he was too cool for school.
I'll go Team All-Stars to make it fun.
Bro, you remember the Tyrese Maxey, Scotty Barnes, the duo thing they had?
Redemption, baby. They're here for redemption.
That's 100% redemption. That was one of the worst things I ever seen in my life. They couldn't make
Paulo Wembanyama. They're gonna be gas. They're gonna have no legs for this competition. Team All-Stars, redemption. It's called Team Redemption.
Was that their rookie year? They were team rookie?
Yeah. Do you remember when they couldn't make the bunnies? They couldn't make the 1-point shot. Oh, it was so bad. So bad. All right, 3 points. This is awesome.
This should actually be good this year.
Well, it's good this year because Steph's not in it. That's why it's good. It's a bunch of guys that shoot the three well that aren't real great three. I think all these guys aren't great 3-point contest shooters.
They're good. It's gonna be whoever catches fire.
Who do you got in this one? Give me your first and second. Give me your final two.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
You go ahead.
All right, I got Dame over Cat.
I got Trey over Dame.
I had Trey over Dame too. Now I have to switch it. I can't have the same as you. I had Trey over Dame. I have Trey over Malik Beasley.
Ooh.
Malik Beasley's the dark horse, bro.
Wide
open. That kid's a sniper.
The only thing I'll say with this, you usually have one guy that nobody picks that gets hot and gets into the finals.
That's going to be Lauri Markkanen.
I
can see that.
I don't hate the Beasley pick, and I don't hate.
You know what the problem with Lauri Markkanen is, though? He's not quick enough. I don't think he gets through his racks fast enough.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that.
Slow developing shot to begin with. I like Lauri, but I don't think he's quick enough to get to his rack.
That's Tyrese. I hate Tyrese's jumper.
Oh my God, so do I.
It is so ugly to look at, but I think he could be, one of those guys too that is ultimately there.
I thought Maxey was in the 3-point contest. Did he bail out?
Maybe. But this is I don't know. This is the 8.
I could have sworn they said Tyrese Maxey was in the 3-point contest.
He might have bailed because they moved him to the skills challenge.
Skills redemption.
Yeah, I guess so. They're like, nah, we got a couple better shooters. Trae Young made the All-Star game. Now he's coming. It was originally reported that Maxey planned to enter the 3-point contest, but that was never official. Former All-Star Karl-Anthony Towns will be competing in that spot. See, now, you guys think that this is a bad slam dunk contest. I don't.
Who was you guys? I have not.
Callie said it. I love this tournament. I think Jaylen Brown is going to put on a show. I love Mac McClung, return to Mac, and Jaime Jaquez is listen, the one guy I'm not familiar with dunking is Jacob Toppin.
His brother has super bounce, so I'd imagine that Jacob can get up too.
I get it, but I know what Mac did. Mac is an all-time dunker. I love Jaylen Brown, super intelligent guy. I'm pretty sure he's going to be one of the most creative. And Jaime Jaquez got hops. Who do you got in this one?
I'm gonna stick with Return of the Mac. I think he defends his title. I think he doesn't really have much to do other than practice this stuff all year. So I think he comes out with some crazy stuff again. I'm gonna go with Mac.
He's a Magic now. I can't go with him. Last year was 76.
So you're gonna root for the Celtic instead?
I didn't say I was rooting for the Celtic.
I got Jaime taking care of business. His bounce is absolutely incredible, and I know he's got some creative stuff. Like I've seen some crazy stuff from him back in high school. So I think his bag's going to be deep enough, and he's got the bounce to do it. I actually think this isn't the star-studded lineup by any stretch of the imagination, but I actually think this is going to help bring the dunk contest back to where we love. Like Jaylen Brown signing up, I do think that's big.
Completely agree with you. I'm going Jaylen Brown. I am going with the Celtic. I think Jaylen Brown's got hops out of the gym, super intelligent, going to be super creative, and he's a star. So he's going to get that star movement, right? Going to get more from the crowd. He's going to get more from the judges. It might be a BS win, like a Nate Robinson win over Andre Iguodala, but it will be a Jaylen Brown win.
Geesh, how long have you been harboring that?
I've been harboring it for years. That was one of the worst of all time. What they did to Andre Iguodala. Andre Iguodala destroyed Nate Robinson in that dunk contest. That wasn't even close.
You got the Spud Webb vote.
All right, so what are we going to next?
I mean, we could touch, I guess, quick on college basketball landscape. We got like 20 minutes, well, 17 technically, but whatever you guys want to do.
College basketball, I was just worried whether we're going to get into it or not. Yeah, you can talk about the fact that your Ohio State Buckeyes fired someone.
It's about damn time. Chris was not the right man for the job. It seemed like it might be at first, but it just didn't work out. So I'm glad they got rid of him. Now you can start the search and bring in a guy that recruits well and gets them back to the tournament every year.
Return of the Mac. I'm sorry, it's stuck in my head. So not much has changed in the college basketball landscape at the top. You still have UConn and Purdue as the top two teams on most boards, coaches poll, the AP poll. They're only teams with 2 losses that are up there. The one thing I did find interesting is North Carolina has started to shit the bed. They had a bad game the other night.
2 in a row.
Yeah. So 2 or 3, I think it was. I think 2 or 3.
They beat Duke. They beat Duke, then they lost to Clemson. They lost to Syracuse last night.
They beat Miami, though.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they beat Miami. But the point is, North Carolina took a little bit of a tailspin. They were looking really good, and then they just start looking like North Carolina last year. Kansas, another team. Kansas, I think my national championship pick, just got absolutely the floor wiped with them the other night. What happened in that?
I'm telling you, man. Somebody's going to play Iowa State coming to the tournament. I'm telling you.
I mentioned Iowa State before. Iowa State's really weird. They're going to be hot and cold. Texas Tech, Big 12 is just one of those things where anybody in that conference can lose any given night.
There's legit 8 teams in the Big 12 that can win the Big 12 tournament.
My question would be this, right? So let's just look at the Big 12 for a minute. What teams what team wins the Big 12? Do you think Kansas still wins it?
Kansas is still the best team, talent-wise and on paper. But they have
Iowa State and Houston are tied for first in the Big 12 right now. Houston's you got Baylor, who's 3rd in the Big 12. Texas Tech, who's 4th. Kansas is 5th. All their losses have come in Big 12 action.
Baylor's played really well the last couple weeks. I watched a little bit of their game against Oklahoma the other night. He's Scotcher's a good coach. That team, they play smart basketball. Oklahoma is not a bad team. Iowa State, I think, is a sleeper. Me and Kachov talked about him before.
Texas is a team that is unranked, but I mean, they can beat you any night. Like, I think for me, my pick to win the Big 12 will be Houston. I don't think they're the best team in the Big 12, but I just think that like their style of play and what they're going to be able to do in that Big 12 tournament, I think that's going to ultimately get them to bring home that crown. I still think Kansas is the best team over there, but I like Houston to win the Big 12.
Same thing that scares me about what it does every year about Houston is what scares me again. They just, when they play a team that can play solid man-to-man, they struggle to score. Like they have to keep the game in the 50s almost. They have the ability to keep you in the 40s, which what makes them special. But they get some of these teams that could shoot a little bit. Like they get a team, they play Kansas, and Kansas shoots the ball well. Kansas is going to get into the 60s. There's just no way around it. That's where Houston struggles. But Big 12 is just eating itself. It just it's like the Lions eating their own cubs. It's just a lot.
Can I ask you guys a question? You guys are a little bit more familiar with this than I am. What is up with Kentucky? Lost 3 games at home already. They have 2 lottery picks, 2 top 10 picks on their roster. Like, what is up with them?
I think the biggest thing with them is their inexperience is starting to show. Like, you talk about the lottery picks and, things like that. I mean, they haven't gotten what they were expecting out of DJ Wagner so far. Like,
not close.
Exactly. No. He was, top prospect. You expect him to come in and be great. And Rob Dillingham's, basically stolen the show there. So I just think those guys are young. I think they're going to get it together. They got to find a way to get it together fast. But we talk about the Big 12 playing great basketball. The SEC is playing good ball too. I mean, you got teams like Bama, who's consistently going to be good. South Carolina came out of nowhere this year. They're playing great basketball right now. Arguably the hottest team in the country. I mean, outside of course, UConn at number 1. But South Carolina's been playing great basketball right now. Auburn's been playing well too. Like, I just think the SEC is in that spot where, just like the Big 12, they got so many talented teams, and Kentucky's really just been getting beat by their lack of experience in these tough stretches of games.
Okay. Do you think that UConn is still the clear-cut favorite to win the national championship?
Clear-cut, I would say.
Listen, Stephen Castle's played out of his mind.
I think if they had their full squad, you could say they're clear-cut. I mean, they're still playing great basketball. That team has a lot of experience on it. They're probably going to be the number 1 overall seed. I don't see that changing, but I don't know. Like, if you gave me the Connecticut versus the field, I'll take the field.
Oh, yeah, of course. I don't think this is anybody that's versus the field, but I'm asking you, if you had to pick one person, one team to put all your money on, who you putting it on? Right now.
Right now, if I'm being honest, that's Purdue for me.
Oh.
This isn't the Purdue team. Like, this Purdue team isn't going to get bounced in the first or second round. John Suggs, I'm with you. I picked Arizona to win my national championship, but
they slumped too.
I mean,
I love that. I love that.
My money on somebody right now, I'd put it on UConn. I really would.
I love Arizona has what it takes to win in the tournament. Experience, great guard play. Like, that's what you want. But I mean, with Purdue though, I got to give them their credit. Zach Edey, we talk about him all the time about what he can do. They actually have role players that are stepping up this year. So I think Purdue, this is a team I think you got to take serious with Purdue.
I don't see them take serious. I can't. I don't know. I've just they play down in their competition too much for me.
Well, I mean, I'm interested to see what Kansas does. I really think Kansas has one of the best rosters overall. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Kansas as a whole. Kevin McCullough Jr. I'm a fan of. Like, I think that there's a lot of guys on that Kansas roster that could be, studs come tournament time. So the 2 teams I would put it between right now would be UConn and Kansas. That's where I'm at.
I'll go UConn, Arizona. I've been on Arizona all year. I like them. It's just they're another one, man. They play.
Control both being on Arizona kind of scares me. The last time you were both on a team, it was Baylor, and they won a natty.
I mean, I'll tell you the problem with everybody this year is everybody in the top 10. Nobody can win away from home. top 10 teams this year, like I think they're 32 and 34 overall away games with the current top 10. Everybody goes on the road and they lose. You're not going to play home games in the tournament. So
I also think this is going to be a big year where not necessarily seeding, but what your region looks like is going to matter. So like before with Baylor, I was confident saying that I don't care what region they're in. I think they're going to win the national championship. With Arizona, I do think they have to be in the right region playing against certain teams and things like that to ultimately go win. So I don't think there's any team who I'm confident in without seeing any region about going on win national championship like how we were back then. I mean, even with you, Gene, you were on Gonzaga and they won the national championship. Like it didn't matter what region that you put that team in, you expect them to still go. Right. So I just don't think we have that necessarily this year.
All right, let's get into You Got to Be Kidding Me. Gentlemen, we're going to talk more college basketball coming up. We're going to have our list, MLB list starting probably next week. We got a bracket going for you guys. Hopefully we get that running. Cottrell, give us started.
So I'll start off with a NBA game that happened on Monday. So the New York Knicks were facing the Houston Rockets, and down the stretch, the Rockets ended up getting a foul called in their favor on Jalen Brunson. It sent them to the line. They hit 2 free throws. Ultimately, they won the game. The You Got to Be Kidding Me part about it is that after the game was over, the referee said they made a mistake and that, that wasn't the right call. The 2-minute report came out, said it wasn't the right call. My biggest issue with it is we do all this stuff with challenges and replay. We go to the monitors any possible chance we can, and yet we let this game end in regulation on a call that is absolutely wrong. Why don't you just go to the cameras, see that you made the wrong call, and fix it? Like, I just don't understand why we have all this replay and we're still getting the calls wrong. So for me this week, the referee's getting it wrong yet again and, costing the New York Knicks a win in a regular season game.
You gotta be kidding me.
I have a long one this week. Long.
I'm not going to go long on mine because mine's, kind of serious. We've kind of danced around it a little bit on the show, but I'm going to go with what happened today. It's sad, it's tragic, but showing up to celebrate your football team winning a Super Bowl and somebody got killed. Not going to get into the politics of it, not going to do any of that, but we just have to be better as people. You should be able to go to a parade to celebrate your football team winning the Super Bowl, have fun, have some drinks, hang out with your friends. It's a Kansas City's a little bit more used to it than, other cities, but, I know Gene does as well. Like, I know when I went to the parade, I know exactly who I was with, where I was, what happened. I could tell you the whole damn day from start to finish. It's a lifetime memory. And nobody should have to go to one of those places and worry about being killed. I know the Philly fans get crap for every little thing that happens here. We had a parade and had 2 million people there and nobody got shot. It's more of a general, like I said, kind of human race kind of situation. Kansas City fans, you got to be better. You got to be better. Nobody should be showing up to a parade. I don't know what the circumstances were. I quite frankly, I don't care. Somebody lost their life today. There's 10 more people that got wounded and got injured. You just shouldn't show up to a parade and have to worry about getting shot and killed. So for this week, for me, it's Kansas City fans.
You gotta be kidding me.
Well, it's not Kansas City fans. It's the idiot shooter.
Well,
I'm not blaming that on their fans. I feel terrible for their fans to be able to show up to a parade like that. I just want to make sure that's very clear. You guys know who John Feliciano is? I mean, I know who he is. I knew who he was. But, the casual NFL fan doesn't know who John Feliciano is. They don't. It's because he's a journeyman offensive lineman he played for Oakland. He played for Buffalo. Last year he was in the Giants. This year he was on the San Francisco 49ers. Why does John Feliciano get brought up and You Got to Be Kidding Me? Let's start with this. John Feliciano left the Super Bowl after 31 snaps with a pec injury. Spencer Buford replaced him at right guard. During a key 3rd and 4 play in overtime, Feliciano threw his teammate under the bus for a protection bust that resulted in an incompletion. A viral video blamed right tackle Colton McKivitz for the miscue, prompting Feliciano to respond with 2 tweets. I know you know all, so you should know that that's not Colton's guy. Feliciano initially responded before adding, a quick chop is not needed if the guy that was supposed to block him blocks him. Feliciano was implying that Burford was responsible for leaving Chiefs defensive tackle Chris Jones unblocked with a clear path to Brock Purdy, who was under pressure, threw the ball ahead of Juwan Jennings that forced a field goal, and the Chiefs ultimately won the game. Burford replied to Feliciano, sheesh, I open up my app to this. Get well soon, bro. Feliciano then apologized. I'm sorry, bro. I woke up hungover and being a bitch. In trying to have one's back, I hurt you. It's effed up, and I apologize. You got nothing but greatness ahead of you. I'm sorry, bro. The teammates talked and cleared the air with Burford saying he accepted Feliciano's apology. Now, I would be able to accept that if it was emotional. That was the only thing John Feliciano got himself into. It's not. John Feliciano, now, if you guys remember, and I'm not excusing the other guy here in a second, but if you guys remember, there was a viral clip that went around Jalen Carter tearing up and crying on the Eagles sideline after the 49ers absolutely baked the Philadelphia Eagles in Lincoln Financial Field this past year. You guys seen that, right? Jalen Carter was on the sideline in tears, but no one understood why until a couple days ago. Well, Jalen Carter, seeing the situation that happened, Carter saw the story and responded with some heavy allegations levied against Feliciano on his Instagram story, talking about Feliciano laughed at him, saying, you already got one of your friends dead, alluding to an accident that resulted in the death of Jalen Carter's teammate. Dude told me he was going to murder me and my kids and would never see me again 3 times because I was laughing at him after getting a flag. This is what Feliciano responded. I said, I believe you got a body. Then he continued for weeks posting my fam and reaching out to my friends, Feliciano wrote on X. So the beef between Feliciano and Jalen Carter went back and forth, with Feliciano apparently making fun of Jalen Carter's dead friend from Georgia and Jalen Carter making numerous murder threats. Both these idiots deserve to be on my You Gotta Be Kidding Me for that alone. Feliciano being in the news this much in 48 hours when you probably didn't know who his name was 48 hours ago, that leads to this week's You Gotta Be Kidding Me.
You gotta be kidding me.
He's an idiot. By the way, I want to take a quick second. Valentine's Day. Listen, not everybody in the world's got somewhere to be with somebody tonight, so I appreciate you guys all joining in and being on Wire2Wire Sports Network with us. To anybody out there that's mourning a loss of a significant other on this Valentine's Day, I just, my thoughts and wishes go out to you today. I appreciate everybody that listens in the chat. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Nothing for me.
Got a couple texts. I'll do super quick. I like Chase Elliott in Daytona 500 this weekend. I got a couple guys with the racing thing. I always give them for the big races, but I'll go Chase Elliott to win on Sunday.
Okay. I like it. Appreciate you guys tuning in to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. That's Kent State's own, Cleveland's own College Cottrell, Uncle Shally, Scholastic Shally, and we are signing out. Boom.